I'm Joe, co-founder of GEMHAMMER & Sons Gaming.
And I have a hammer.
That's Connor. He also co-founded GEMHAMMER & Sons Gaming. But what is a GEMHAMMER & Sons? What would you say we do here?
We make accessories for the greatest tabletop game this world has ever seen. How was that? Did we get it? From our secret mountain lair, we forge only the finest quality magic items. Potions, spells, reference cards, and adventures.
We want to get you out of the table in your book and back at the table with your friends, playing the game with our collection of easy-to-read reference cards and gaming decks. And with our adventure books, we want to help you and your players tell a story that you'll always remember, for better or for worse.
From critical hits to critical failures, spells, magic items, and more, we want to provide players and dungeon masters with everything they need to make their game night the best night of the week.
But don't take our word for it, just listen to these satisfied customers.
Before GEMHAMMER & Sons, no one could rescue me from the warlock holding me hostage. But after he used the Deck of Many Things, my captor was teleported to another dimension, and I was free to go.
As a druid, it's really difficult to keep track of all my wild shapes. But thanks to GEMHAMMER & Sons' Compendium of Wild Beasts, I always know what animals I can turn into, and what they do. Their stuff is the best. They bring so much joy to our game table.
GEMHAMMER & Sons is committed to making the finest tabletop accessories and... Connor? Is that a baby dragon on your shoulder?
It appears to be, yes.
Where did you even get one of those? Why do you have that right now?
I don't know.
Thank you, GEMHAMMER.
Thanks, GEMHAMMER. No, I don't think anyone will notice it's me.
GEMHAMMER & Sons Gaming. More, better game stuff. That's our slogan.
Hello and welcome to Band of Badgers. Hopefully this is all working. We'll find out in a second. But if not, I am Dave. I am your host for this session. And joining us as our Q&A guest is Connor Napier. Connor, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very, very well.
Fantastic.
It's very hot where you are right now.
It is sweltering. I'm not loving it.
So for those of you who don't know, Connor is actually the co-founder of GEMHAMMER. If you just saw the trailer, it would have told you all about it. A fantastic maker of all things for 5th edition. And I was trying to work out, when I was writing this up, trying to work out how to explain of everything that GEMHAMMER does. And it's basically, it's all the things you never knew you needed until you needed it. So there we go. And you can quote me on that. And joining me, go on.
I will.
That's
I'm
fine.
writing it down.
We had someone do it a while ago, and I mentioned it about their product. It was the Ultimate Games Master, which is a software app. And then I was looking at the Kickstarter page, and there was my quote. And so it was nice to see. I said it does everything.
Does everything that made popcorn.
Yeah, it kind of made sense at the time. And you've just seen in there joining me. Joining me as co-host is Steve. So if you do have a question for our guest, put it in chat. Steve is the person you look after, and Steve did see that. So if
what
you're
did you do? You've played something in Twitch, haven't you?
Sorry. How are you doing, Steve? How are you doing?
I have been to it because you forgot about 10-second delay. So as I moved the Zoom window down, I caught the monkey.
Yeah, the monkey just sitting there.
Busy day at work, was it today?
It was a very busy day. I did that in the last 5 minutes, actually. Just and I'll play it again. There you go. Now, we also have a discount code for you today from Connor from GEMHAMMER. It is a 10% discount code. It is the code word badgers. Now we'll stick that into live chat for you as well, but it's for the entire product range. So do go ahead, check out the links. The links will go up and down the live chat. So it's a blanket code, 10% of everything, the full range. Now, for those of you who don't know, we are Band of Badgers, and we support writers, artists, designers, and creators across all of our shows and across the entire world. because it's been obviously with lockdown we can't get out, so we're using this kind of magical means of communication to talk to people all across the globe, and it's really nice to be able to share those with you. You can find all of our content on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/bandofbadgers, and if you would like to support us in return, you can. We've got all the usual places. We've got Twitch subs, Patreon, we've got merchandise, and we've even got an Amazon wish list. I don't know why we have an Amazon wish list, but we do. And I mentioned merchandise, but I just want to bring up that, Connor, that is an amazing T-shirt.
Oh, thank you.
You're a little
we
bit
didn't talk
covered.
about the shirts before.
No, we didn't. What's show everyone the...
Oh, sure.
Just
So
the bottom bit. You're going to have to stand up
Yeah.
and flash it a little bit. There you go. If anyone can read Viking or Runics or whatever you want, runes, it's do you want to tell them what it says? Because I think it's amazing.
If you figured it out, by all means.
Wait, I'll let the chat decide. I'll let the chat figure it out. If you could decipher it.
So go back and clip that and then figure it out.
It means stop. Hammer time. I absolutely love that. So, Connor, first up is something really, really nice and easy. A good question to start with. Who are you? What is GEMHAMMER all about? And what are these fantastic products that we need? We've actually got below you, we've got a little box ticking by with just a handful of some of the stuff that Connor has created.
Oh, nice.
So
I have I have two screens with lots of windows open, but I couldn't see the feed because I could only see the chat. And I was like, what does he mean? Oh, that's nice. A little B-roll. All right. So anyway, so my name is Connor Napier. I'm one of the co-founders of GEMHAMMER & Sons. I make more better game stuff is how we tend to describe what we do. I'm a full-time student, professional graphic designer, and my friends and I make all these wonderful products that they can't see this feed, so I'm waving my hand under a camera for dramatic effect, and they can't see it.
They can't.
So anyway, so GEMHAMMER & Sons, we started off just making accessories because we as gamers wanted more things that made the game easier, made it simpler, especially for players and dungeon masters. The things that got you out of the tables in your book, back at the tables with your friends, that kind of stuff. Just anything that made it simpler. And from there, we just started making more and more D&D stuff. And at some point, we asked ourselves, is this a fun hobby or is this what we want to do with our lives? Mm-hmm. And we've gone with the latter. And here we are, trying to promote some of our products and sell all of our fantastic wares to people such as yourselves.
Cool. And speaking of wares, you waved your hand over the magic camera. Let's take a dive in. What would you like to talk about first?
I'm going to let you pick because I can talk about anything.
Well, I mean, it's staring us right in the face. It is the GEMHAMMER Grimoire. Let's dive into the book. We'll come back. My favorite items are the cards because we were talking about that just before we came on air.
We could talk about these whenever you want. So you let me know and we'll jump into those. But the Grimoire, this was our last Kickstarter, and this is our big book of magic stuff. And so GEMHAMMER & Sons, we are a double company, I like to say. We are a real company. We make all the wonderful More Better Game stuff that people enjoy, but also in game world, in the campaign setting that we have been developing. Whoops, I bumped the camera. There's also GEMHAMMER & Sons, and which has been founded by this crazed arcanist who probably shouldn't be trusted with anything. So the GEMHAMMER Grimoire is our big book of magic-y stuff, your spells, your subclasses, feats, magic items, whole lots more. There's rules for epic spellcasting in 5th edition. I don't remember if I said prestige classes, but prestige classes. Lots of cool, amazing, wild stuff. Rules for potion crafting and mana potions so that you can get spell slots back. All that kind of stuff. And the way that we've kind of framed that narrative is that this is our founder, Gurin GEMHAMMER, this is his grimoire, and to whom it may concern, which inherently means anyone read it. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but the whole book is basically, get out of my book, it's not yours. I know it, you know it's not yours. Get out, if found, please return. And then it's all about him. And the whole thing is, this is not actually his grimoire, but it is the version of his grimoire that has been edited by his sons who have inherited it and are now selling it for profit.
Nice.
Even though it's very clear they're not supposed to be. So, you know, the first chapter is like, if you wanted to sell the magic items contained in this book, we've given you a magic item shop. A GEMHAMMER and Sons magic item shop. And there's the rules and the stock and prices. And then from there, we launched right into all the different magic items in the book. And a lot of these were made for the grimoire, but some of them were from...
You got a cube of infinite drip.
Yes. It infinitely drips.
I'm trying to think of ways we could do with that. I mean, you can just fill up a bit.
I mean, if you're in a desert, this sounds great.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
You like strap to the top of your water skin, little by little, you'll get there.
An owlbear doll. Wow.
And some of these are obvious jokes, like your eternity gems, and an eternity glove. I wonder what that does. But some of these are were from previous projects that we had done, and then some of them, a lot of them were developed for the grimoire itself. Just flipping ahead.
So how did you brainstorm the magic item ideas?
So there was a case of beer involved.
Yeah.
And sometimes, so I play D&D with a group of guys. We've played every Monday night for what seems like years, because it has been. And usually someone will throw out some ridiculous joke, and Joe, my partner, kind of turns to me and goes, "Write that down." And I go, and I write it down. And so some of these are from that. Some of these were us sitting around going, what's the most ridiculous thing we can think of? And inevitably those land on a spreadsheet somewhere, and then we pick the ones that are good. And then also some of the ones that are usable. And that's how a lot of these land. And then also sometimes I'll just draw stuff, and I'll send a bunch of drawings over to Joe or some of the guys that we play with, and it's like, what does that do?
Yeah. And
they tell us, and then we actually make that work. And sometimes I go, no, that's broken. Get out of here. You're ridiculous. But either way, there's different avenues for how these get made.
Just to interrupt you there, you mentioned you are this isn't just your product. You're one of the artists involved.
Yeah.
So when you say you just draw it, you literally just create it, draw it there and then. Someone does something, and then you're straight back into it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was going to ask if the portrait in the front of the book of the owner of the grimoire, was that one of your drawings?
Yes, actually, most of the artwork in this book was done by myself.
Right. I
also laid out the book and wrote most of it.
And also to point out, you did the trailer.
I did do the trailer as well. I don't think it's one of my best jobs, but I also did the trailer. Thank you.
I liked it as well. It looks good.
So yep, we also oh my god. Sorry, it's been a long week. I just finished school on Sunday, and I have not fully recovered. Abigail Thawne. Abigail Thawne, she did some of this artwork. She did a bunch of illustrations for this book as well. And some artwork was done. Abigail also did these. Can you see that? It's just off the page. No, there it is. And also Beth Vargas was one of our artists for a long time. Some of her artwork is in here as well. But primarily, I'm doing most of our artwork right now. We've had a few other artists come and go. We have a stack of their art somewhere. I don't want to call out their names because we haven't used their artwork yet. But we've got a backlog of that cool stuff. I can't wait to ship out to people. But for right now, I'm doing a vast majority of the artwork that you see.
It's nice. I noticed earlier before we went live, you actually also have the GEMHAMMER weapon.
Yes, we have GEMHAMMER the weapon, as well as and it's kind of like it's actually the other way around in real life, but in lore, the GEMHAMMER, the GEMHAMMER symbol, is a stylized this hammer.
Yeah. If you put it down just a little bit more, and then we'll put it down towards you. There we go. Because I think that looks amazing. Because Steve plays an Eberron game, and there's all these kyber crystals.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw when I thought that, what if you could load it up with kyber crystals?
And this thing is essentially a wild magic warhammer. When you swing this thing, something happens. For example, the target switches armor with you.
That would be brilliant.
You explode, dealing 1d10 points of fire damage to everything with a 10-foot radius. You immediately resurrect in a copy of your body in the prime of your life, fully refreshed as though taking a long rest. You are naked and have no items equipped. The ordeal leaves you rattled, and you have disadvantage on saving throws for 1d4 plus 1 days as you become accustomed to your new form.
So if you'd have sent me that picture,
I will
ask me to tell you what it did. It's got a strong tuning fork vibe for me. So I would like smash it onto the ground, and then put the tuning fork into the floor, and then that's earthquake.
Ooh,
that's what I pictured when I saw it.
That's pretty good.
I love.
But I told you what it does, so that's enough of that.
Yeah.
Volume 2. There you go. I love the idea of getting someone like a barbarian or just a plain fighter and giving them wild magic. Like they find that in a dragon horde, which we did last week. You guys found some items in the dragon's horde.
Some of these.
And then suddenly you swing it, and the first hit. Okay, now roll a d20. Or percentage dice, whatever random effect this has. It's like what? And then suddenly you change armor. Or maybe you change armor with the dragon. That could be whatever you hit. Brilliant. Love the idea. Absolutely love the idea.
What's the craziest item that ended up in there?
Craziest item? Six for this one.
The Sundare?
The Sunderer.
Yeah.
Sunderer.
So this is a sentient greatsword who is like a girl that's always mean to you because she actually likes you, and she's jealous of other weapons that you use. It's a lot of fun. Especially if you're a DM like me. It's a great weapon. It just thinks you're an idiot and is mad at you because you picked up that dagger to eat with.
I love it. Oh my god, I love it.
It's probably I mean, the GEMHAMMER is pretty up there. Some of these effects are pretty silly. Yeah. Is there anything else that's absolutely out of this world? I mean, some of these are just... let me see. It's a metal detector.
A metal detector. 500 charges.
In case you're playing a beach campaign and all your characters are over 65, it's...
You'd spend all your time in Saltmarsh, just on the harbour area. Just like,
exactly.
Oop, you got something.
You're being attacked by regular-sized crabs. Quick run. I actually love this one. So this is a horn that when you blow it, a little piglet appears. And if you take care of the piglet, it later becomes this armored war boar that you can ride around.
That's nice.
But you have to take care of it, and now you have this
It's a Tamagotchi.
Yeah, you gotta take care of it. It's a piglet, and you're regularly getting into combat situations. So good luck keeping it alive. I'm afraid to give it to my players, the people that I play with, because it's I feel like they're either gonna kill this thing immediately, or they're gonna become way too attached to it. And then I did exactly what I said I wasn't gonna do and bump the mic. They're gonna become way too attached to it and lose it just as it becomes cool.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's either going to be bacon or
I mean,
an attachment. Yeah.
It's a bacon seed if you think about it. But that's cool. The Grimoire. There's 2 subclasses for every spellcasting class. There's 5 prestige classes, which aren't usually a thing in 5th edition, but we don't care. We're doing it anyway.
So the other thing you do, which I'm a big fan of, is the cards. Again, we were talking before we went live about the cards, and I use cards in both D&D and Pathfinder. I love the critical hit and critical failure, because critical failure just allows you to do so much more role playing in a just a fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of way. Now you've also got some of these, and one of them is just on the screen right now. You've got the deck of blunders. Can we have
This one here?
Yep.
Oh, it's on that. Sorry,
on
I
my
have
screen.
way too many windows on your screen. Yeah, you want to take a look at blunders? We could do that. And I apologize, but I have to open new decks.
So we're getting brand spanking new decks.
That's
cool.
right. All of our display decks are in a shipping container somewhere right now.
So how is the? Let's talk about that as well. So while you're opening, how has shipping affected you? Like most
negatively.
Businesses?
Yeah. Almost everything we print comes out of China. Well, our large volume stuff, like the cards like this in a tuck box, that stuff's coming out of China. There's no one in the U.S. that will like print in like with prices that would ever really work. So it's effectively double the cost of printing cards, which makes it really hard for us to do cards right now. In fact, we're pretty much taking a break from cards for a while. Like we have the ones that we've produced and we have all the ones that we think we'll need for the foreseeable future. But past that, like it's so expensive to ship cards. Like we tried to do a Kickstarter this past spring and it was like 9 out of 13 grand that we needed to launch the Kickstarter was either shipping to the States or shipping out to people after that point. It was either material handling or fulfillment, and it's like, oh well, the shipping is just out of control, because we had done a very similar Kickstarter for the deck of blunders and the deck of wonder and all those, and that was just a couple of years ago, and that was, I think we did like 5 decks of cards in that Kickstarter. And I want to say that was in the neighborhood of 25, 30 grand is how that landed after backer kit and everything. And that was fine. Like we Kickstarted that at like $2,500. So it's like $2,000, $2,500 and we're all set. Meanwhile, to do an almost identical Kickstarter, we had to do 13 grand. And it was like, oh,
yeah,
well, I guess this isn't going to go. And everyone's like, well, why don't you just make it cheaper? Oh, that I could. Wouldn't that be something?
Yep.
But deck of blunders.
And each of these decks, are they all 100 cards?
Give or take. They're all at least 100. They all say 100 on them. Some of them have like 4 more cards on them or something like that. And usually it's because, so we have to include the SRD. Which I've already taken out, so I don't know why I was going to show that. So we usually include a card that like tells you what it is. It's 100 cards meant to replace a supplemental effect of critical failures in combat. Blah, 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 blah. But then, we have to include the SRD. So we're like legally required to do that. So
seen
that's
that many times. I back a lot of Kickstarters, and I've seen it many, many times now. It's
like we can print up to 108 cards in a deck without graduating to a larger tech box. So usually we'll get to the end and maybe we'll have 1 or 2 extra ideas. Like, you know what? Let's just push it to 104. Let's just push it to 105 or whatever. And it usually depends on the deck and like how much room there is left in it. So, but if it says 100, it means 100. So there's always 100. And let's see what happened when we rolled a critical failure. You embolden the enemy forces. Your target and all of their allies gain a D8 inspiration die. No one said we were playing fair.
Yep, it's true.
They'll have little
could you move them down
flavored text on
just a notch?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just that's it. There you go. Smack in the middle. Fantastic. Nice.
And we've gotten a pretty big consistent complaint about these cards, and that is that somehow a random deck of Sunders card is in here.
Oh.
And we've gotten a pretty big complaint about the deck of Sunders, that there is just out of nowhere a single deck of Blunders card in here. And it's almost like we did it on purpose.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just say it's a promo. It's you got one, and now you got to get the others.
Well, the argument that was made, and I accepted, was you failed so hard you've circled back around into success. So I don't know where it is in here because it still has a deck of blunders back, but somewhere in here has a different symbol at the top. And it's actually a success. 1d6 enemies you hadn't noticed before burst onto the scene. Oh great, who are these guys? It's been a while since I've gone through this thing. I haven't used it in a while. Let's see, can I find the Sunders card? I'm not going to sit here and do this with you guys all day.
I
Anyway.
was just reading the top card. You stumble and twist your ankle. Your movement is now half in the next 3 rounds. Yeah.
Yeah. And because that's the thing is that it's like when you critically succeed in 5th edition, like something cool happens, even if it's just you get more damage die. When you critically fail, you just fail. There isn't like usually some people like house rule that you drop your sword or it shatters
you
or
drop it,
something
or you throw
flavorful
it.
or cinematic.
Yeah.
The rules is written, nothing happens.
It's because you want to do more with the action sequence, and you get a hero who's always unlucky. So they've thrown their sword away. Then they've got a dagger. They've thrown that away. Now they've got a spoon, and for some reason that's gone into the back of someone's head. You know, and they're like, I've run out of weapons. I just can't give you anything else. You're just a bad adventurer. Just go home. You're just unlucky, and you get a natural 20. You're like, yeah, go on. What's gonna happen?
Now you've got double damage with the 1 point of damage you can do with a punch.
I punch him.
Right. Well, that's why we also made the deck of Sunders, and the idea behind that one was, like maybe you want something a little more cinematic to happen than just we did double damage. But the big thing behind blunders, and I think we actually added that to the Kickstarter first as a stretch goal, was because it's like a natural 1 and a natural 3 in most cases aren't different ultimately, but they should be. Like it should be very different when you roll a natural 1, much in the same way that a 19 and a 20 should be different. Although I'm not of the school that believes that but a crit means that you do anything. You could still fail on a crit, I believe, unless it's combat. But
There is a question from chat, from Dragon's Fire, and it is: will you have printable assets?
How do you mean?
I'm gonna guess on the Kickstarter when it goes live. Are you going to offer any printable assets? Because you were talking about shipping costs at the time.
Oh yes. So we're going to offer. Well, we haven't talked about what that product is yet, but when that Kickstarter goes live, and we'll talk about that in a bit, that we will have a lower tier of pledge levels that are PDFs, and then a slightly higher tier that has a digital version on your virtual tabletop platform of choice, depending on all of the platforms that we're able to make deals with between now and the Kickstarter, which we are presently doing. So that at the very least we'll be on one of them, but it hasn't been approved yet, so I'm not going to say who they are. But at any rate, and then the higher tiers are you actually buy the thing, the physical copy of the book. And when you buy the physical copy, it'll also have a PDF copy. So, there will be PDF versions for the book.
Yeah.
We have done that for cards. Well, there aren't really going to be cards in this Kickstarter. We've done it for cards in the past, and it just turns into a mess. Because, like, most people don't think about this, but it's actually extra work for us. Like, it's the same work over again, because to format cards for printing is not the same format for you to print it on your printer. So we are essentially formatting and laying out the same cards over again. And even if I'm copying and pasting, it's still a lot of work to reformat them. So, and also that almost always turns into, we are on a forum and it's, no, dude, don't worry about it. Here's a copy of their deck of 100 cards. Thanks. Yep, appreciate you. So for cards, at least, we're probably not going to do that again. But we're also not focusing. Roll20 would be a pretty big shout out. Yeah. But again, nothing's been approved, so I'm not going to say anything.
Have you thought about getting into apps or anything like that? And this would be entirely in the space of cards. So if you used to do a deck of Blunder Wrap or a deck of Sunder Wrap.
So I've talked to a few people about that, and I'm finishing a master's degree in digital media design, so it's not impossible that I couldn't make one myself.
Right.
But this stuff is a full-time job that I don't get paid for. So to then also develop an app is kind of like, there's only so many hours in the day, maybe in the future, but for now, this is good enough, and we'll look at other options like that in the future. But it is something that's been brought up before. Like, well, why not just have like an app that it's like a random thing and it pops up on your phone? Yeah, that'd be cool. But I gotta make it, and then I gotta make these too. So we gotta. It's work, you know. There's a lot that goes into these, a lot more than I think sometimes people realize.
Yeah.
So we talked briefly about it before we went live as well. We were talking about, the amount of effort, time, blood, sweat, and tears it is to produce this, and you've been doing it for a few years now. Would it benefit you to team up with people if they were accepting people like Hunters Entertainment, Free League, even people like Darrington Press, you go under their umbrella, or do you think you'd just lose ownership or creativity or something?
Well, I mean, we want to do our own thing. We're not opposed to working with other companies, certainly. Like we would love to partner with people and make products together. I think that could be a lot of fun. There's a lot of creativity and resources other people have, and a lot of creativity and resources we have that together can do a cool thing. But there is that risk. We want to be like, and I'm not sure how clear I've made it. We want to be funny D&D guys, with these products. Like we want to be injecting some amount of humor into anything we make. Yeah. We want to be fun and funny, but also make something that's very useful. So I don't always know that that's going to fit with another company. And I don't know that a company necessarily wants to play that angle with their own products. So it always depends. And we haven't really talked deeply with another game developer about doing that. So, I mean, we'd certainly be open to it. I would certainly be open to having the conversation, but we've never really had that happen, like where someone was very, very seriously like, let's team up, let's do this thing, and here's what it's going to be. So when that happens, I'm certainly more than happy to have the conversation. Free League, it's interesting you say, because we know Doug, who's like the US rep for them. We started off doing small conventions with him years ago, but like Free League doesn't make D&D products, and we do. So, I mean, I feel like that would be us making stuff in their system, which again I'm not opposed to. But and like we were talking before the show, we support 5th edition. We don't also support Pathfinder because it's not just flipping the switch and now it's the same product in another system. It's double the work. Triple the work for every system we would have to bring on, because we need to make them functionally the same thing, flavorfully, and also in terms of intent, but they're in different game systems. So it's not just taking on someone else's rule set and making my thing, but in that rule set instead. It's never quite that simple. And Pathfinder 2 is a great example because they have such a different action economy than 5th edition. Anything in here would have to be wholesale remade and rebalanced. Some of the spells in here would probably need to become different level spells for Pathfinder, but not, that wouldn't be universal. Like, so all the second level spells wouldn't bump up. Some will go up, some will go down. Yep. It would really depend. I have no idea what I would do with the epic spells in here, or the prestige classes for them. Well, I mean, they have prestige classes for 2nd edition now, but at any rate. So it's complex, and we're open to talk to anybody about pretty much anything, because those are the kinds of guys we are. But we've never had that situation in front of us. So
okay, we've
done stuff with Level Up Dice. We've had dice made with them, but never in terms of actual game content. We got
a few bits and pieces questions coming in. And just gonna give an answer to Dragonsfire, who's saying being in Norway is expensive for shipping. Yes, it is, but we've got a 10% discount code for you, so we'll put that into chat. If you just go to the GEMHAMMER website, Steve will drop it into live chat. It's use the code word. Is it Badger or Badgers? Doesn't matter. Badgers.
Well, it does matter, but I'm pretty sure it's Badgers.
And you get a 10%, so make sure you use it.
Badgers.
Cool. And then, we've talked about the previous products and their products. You're kind of, you're now known for the upcoming Kickstarter.
Oh, sure.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What is it, and how does this differ from what other people are looking for?
Sure.
So, Guide to Violence.
Can people see this?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yep.
Okay. So this is Rawlock's Guide to Violence, and in much the way that our grimoire was our big book of magic stuff, our big book of sorcery, this is going to be our big book of swords.
Cool. So
Rawlock is a god that we've decided lives in our world, and it's actually a player character from our home group who ascended to godhood. And in much the way, I've ruined everything. I've destroyed the stream.
You're good.
It's all over. Okay. So in much the same way that, and this is just a test printing, so excuse the blank pages, of which there are many. But so Rawlock is, it is going to be a very tropey kind of like call out of like 80s metal and sword and sorcery.
That's your Conan the King. That one is.
Yeah, our Conan the King standing character is functionally what it is, and in much the way that the other book was, this is Gurin's grimoire. This is a like a holy book for this god of violence. I'm turning it this way. Okay, written by like one of his. It's actually like his squire, his page boy, his servant, but he believes himself to be this herald of Rawlock. So he's written this tome, this big book of violence and all the important things that you need to know and learn if you want to be an adherent of Rawlock. And it's all interjected with Rawlock being like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. I like sent him to get lunch. He's a crazy person. Don't listen to him. So the whole book is, a lot of it is framed in a way that it is Germain, the Herald of Rawlock, completely misunderstanding the intent of Rawlock, God of Violence, and it is just the framing narrative we use to produce the content in the book. And it's in the same way the other one had prestige classes and classes for your martial classes. I mean, for your spellcasting classes, this will have prestige classes and classes for your martial ones. New feat trees. We've developed a class very similar to your 3.5 fighter that gets a feat every level, so you can kind of build your own class out of the feat trees we've developed. We have ideas for new styles of combat, like performance combat. We're going to have rules and rule sets and some enemies for like a wrestling federation that will kind of figure into the performance combat stuff. And then some of these are some of the stuff in here is just jokes that we couldn't let go of. Like there's a magical girl class that is functionally Sailor Moon, and the joke is that Germain has misunderstood Rawlock's anime collection to be tomes of sacred warriors from the distant past, and when really it's just his secret like weeb collection of like plastic figurines of girls in skirts. So, and listen, you don't need to be a girl to be a magical girl. All right, it's all about believing in the power of friendship. But at any rate, so some of these are just tropes that we really love and think thematically fit the book and are all about the martial class. And some of these are jokes that we love and just can't let go of. And if I turn the page, you will see just a test printing for some fonts, and all the pages are blank because it's just a test printing. I apologize. I've bamboozled you all. I've tricked you. Anyway, so Rawlock's Guide to Violence. Again, this is just a test print. Probably going to make it much more red. It's a much brighter red on the finished copy. Probably also not going to do the shiny. Probably make it matte like the other one. But at any rate, so that's coming in October. October 15th is the set date for when we launch, unless something dramatic happens between now and then. The Kickstarter page, or the promo page is up so that you can get alerted now as to when it goes live. We have some additional test pages that you can view on our website, gemhammer.com/Rawlock. And you can get a sneak peek at the table of contents right now.
You got Ranger archetypes. What have we got? Landstrider, War Warden. Cool.
Yes.
Got Masked Warrior, Rapscallion, Fallen Knight, Nice.
So there's going to be your subclasses for the existing classes, but then there's also going to be new classes that we've put together. And these are not every one of these is in the core book. Some of these will be stretch goals. We just needed to know that if we put all of these in here, would it fill up the page? And the answer is yes. So that also means some of the other stretch goals that aren't on this list, we might need a second page of table of contents, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
The stretch goals is a nice segue to the next bit. What else is coming with the Kickstarter? What are the add-ons, the stretch goals? And actually, we had a question earlier. I'm just trying to wrap my brain around what it was. It was all your previous products. If they sign up to this Kickstarter, can they place an order for those other items and get them all shipped at the same time or something?
We are trying to figure that out. As add-ons, yeah. So right now it's built out to include the Grimoire products in that capacity, since like they kind of go together. Like you put them together, you basically have covered all the classes on both sides of the board. Yeah. We are trying to figure out a way to make that work with the cards. We have enough cards that we could absolutely do that. Like we got a huge, so we geared up to do in very late 2019. We made the decision that like this was we were going to give this a go as like our real-time jobs. And so we put a lot of the money GEMHAMMER has made over the last few years into getting enough stock that we could do conventions. That never happened. So we have the stock. It's just more about shipping them. And so the thing that we want to avoid is that if we put too much into the Kickstarter, we're selling too much of the old stuff and not enough of the new stuff that we can get it made. So we are trying to make a decision about whether or not that's just going to get plugged in right away. Here's all of our products in the Kickstarter, or if it's going to be a selection of products. Because the thing is that since these Kickstarters have come and passed, we use a fulfillment center for our Kickstarters because it's easier than me having to sit here and box up every single order one at a time. So that means that the merch from the new Kickstarter will be separated from everything else we have. So if we decide to do that, what will have to happen is we'll have to pack up all of the stock that we need to fill the add-ons and now ship those. You see, I've already gone back to increasing the cost of shipping, which is our biggest cost right now. So that's going to be the biggest stumbling block. I'd love to just say yes, because that has been the number one thing that people have said to us recently is like, you should add everything into your Kickstarter. And I'm like, I know, but look at the prices. So we haven't made a decision yet. It's looking like a yes for certain things. At the very least, the stuff from the Grimoire will be on there. I can't say for sure about everything else because it's really going to come down to what shipping does over the next few months. It may even be a stretch goal that we add other stuff on for add-ons.
So there's something
to focus on new things. There's
something in the contents which I want to pick up on, and it might be, if we're able to talk about it, let's talk about it. Sure. You've got there the Rollocalypse. Are we allowed to talk about the Rollocalypse?
I don't think so.
No, that's okay. But we're teasing. We're teasing.
We are teasing. We're teasing the Rollocalypse. I don't believe so because
maybe close the book now.
People don't want to answer their emails, except for maybe you guys, which is very frustrating. But we could talk about that after I talk to someone this week.
We can do a separate Q&A on the Rollocalypse, or maybe afterwards, because
if you want to have me back, I'm here.
Yeah, I'd love to.
So I don't want to talk about that right now because I don't know if I can because we're still trying to figure it out.
No, that's fine. But we've teased it, folks. We've teased it. See, exclusive tease for everybody. There we go.
There was another question. It was, what's the most useful thing you've used so far? This was from a little while ago, and I can't remember the context of what we were talking about at the time. So, Jen, if you want to post a little bit of clarification on that one.
Like,
I think it's
most useful product that we make, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's go for that. While Jen replies.
Well,
I was gonna say it was one of the most useful cards, and then Connor told me a story.
Well, we
about the
can do
prone.
that story, and then I'll show you the two products that I think are the most useful.
Go ahead,
So here's our deck of wonder. Is this on screen? Is that...
I will
Yep.
put it on the screen. There we go.
Cool. So this is our deck of wonder. There's 100 random magic spell effect cards, and there is a card in this deck that causes everyone everywhere to fall prone. And we were at PAX East 2 or 3 years ago, and a gentleman came up to us very excited, and he said to us, I wanted to thank you for making this deck of cards. And I bought it off Drive Through RPG, and I was like, oh, that's neat. What did you are you enjoying it? What are you doing with it? And he's like, no, you don't understand. This is the cornerstone of my campaign setting that I play with my friends. And I'm like, how is this deck of cards the cornerstone of your campaign setting? So they've been playing for years on and off with different characters all in the same world. And there's this card, everyone everywhere falls prone. So they're on their way to fight the big bad evil guy. And I think it was a failed potion or something happened. And that's what they were using this deck of cards for. It was when a potion fails, they draw it from the deck. So they draw that card. And the next thing they know is like session the next, the DM got this like spark of inspiration. The big bad evil guy, basically every NPC of importance that they had ever encountered in any of their sessions are all sitting in this big white council situation. Good guys, bad guys, indifferent demigods they've tangled with, tricksters that have bested them. And they're all like, and they're there sitting there with heroes of the past, and they're like, what is going on? What happened? And they're all gathered together to deal with the Great Fallening. And he's telling me this story, and I'm like, the Great Fallening? Yes. Everyone everywhere fell prone, and everyone is in a panic over what on earth could have caused literally everything to just drop to the ground in the same instant. We need to discover what this is, because this is a threat to all, and we are joining forces to find out the source of this thing. And they're sitting there like sweating bullets, like, yeah, who could have done that? And then that's what the campaign became about, was them covering their tracks, because now everyone in the world is like forming a massive army to stop whatever this was and discover its source. And they're being sent off on quests to discover the thing they know full well was them. And that was delightful. I have no idea where it went from there or where it could go from there, unless it's just a long, drawn out, quick run kind of situation. But I love that story.
So there you go.
The same card has also killed Tiamat.
If that is your story and you happen to be watching this and you've seen Connor telling the story, let him know, let us know how it ended. Come on and come on the show, talk to us. We'll get you on the next one. But you said you got Tiamat.
I'd love to talk to that person and know how it all turned out. But as far as so that's the most useful card, hands down, because it has killed Tiamat, because falling damage is the thing, and she fell prone from way up in the air.
Ooh.
Yeah. So in terms of useful products, I'm going to say it's tied, and one is actually they're both from the perspective of a DM. So one is our deck of plunder, which I have just opened, and you can see. And so this is a loot generator. This is treasure cards. There's custom magic items in here, some that appear in our book, some that don't, and then just like amounts of gold. And silver. This is not shuffled up, so it's all just going to be in order. But like, so there's magic items. There's scrolls with special spells, deeds to land, items of value, a mystery box, because why not? Items of value, treasures, gems, amounts of copper pieces, silver pieces. It's everything that's probably in the Goblin Chief's pocket that you did not think to write about. So the way you would use this is you'd go through and decide what you're okay with your players having and what you're not okay with them having, and kind of separate them out. And then when you're playing, just plunk that down on the table. And then when they go search in the box or they start digging through their enemy's pockets, that's what they find. And I've played in games where we just put the whole thing down and your level 1 character gets an amazing longsword, but also your level 15 character way down the road gets 3 copper pieces, and you figure it out. The tied most useful item is going to be, can I not open this? Of course I can. It's going to be our deck of illusions, and this is, I love this because this was like the first thing I just illustrated all of it. And that's become what I do all the time now, so it's just kind of whatever. But this has no mechanical anything. Like there's no rules on these cards. This is a DM's tool. This is cool role playing for the player, and this is great for the DM in the sense that I have DM'd campaigns with this deck of cards where the problem is inevitably they have lost track of which cards they do and don't have. But if I give them this deck of cards and they hand me, of course I picked the rules one, and they hand me Red Dragon, after they use it, they don't have Red Dragon. So later, sessions later, they're like, no, I'm pretty sure I have Red Dragon. Then put it down on the table because it's over here.
Yeah.
And so I love the deck of illusions. The problem with it is always keeping track of what cards you do and don't have. And this solves that outright. It's just, here's the deck. You hand cards back to me as you use them. You go pay a wizard or whatever, an illusionist, to give you the cards back, and we'll go from there.
Oh, we have Wandering Shrink in the live chat. Is that one of your players? They're basically saying, I personally think the Dabney card has been one of the most chaotic ones. Tell us about the Dabney. We need to know now.
So, Wandering Shrink. Hello, Wandering Shrink. How are you? So there's a card, and this, I think it was a Bravest Warriors reference, for anyone familiar with that show. But so when we made the Deck of Wonder, I think we were like one card short, and we were finishing it up, and so sometimes we work late into the night and we kind of hit that funny o'clock where you're so tired everything's hilarious. And the show was on in the background, and the character's name is Danny, but one of the characters referred to him as Dabney, and we killed ourselves laughing. It wasn't that funny, but we died. And so we wrote this card that everyone earnestly believes your name to be Dabney. And so on the Clinical Role live stream, Dr. B from Take This drew that card. And from then on, his very super serious monk was suddenly being referred to as Dabney by everyone. And he was incredulous about it because that's not my name. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's always been your name. And so the problem was he proceeded to draw that card like half a dozen times. I don't know if they were doing it on purpose after that point, but like I'd go on stream and I feel like maybe I'm cursed, but I'd go on and watch their show, and he draws that card and like throws the card, and it's like, come on, I'm Dabney again. And eventually he like warmed up to it and like he like owned it. But we actually have a Dabney T-shirt on our merch site, and actually in the grimoire we have a we made this for him. It was like midnight. Maybe the second time he became Dabney, and we were just like decided to have a little bit of fun with him. So we made him the Hand of Dabney, which is an outrageous gauntlet. And like again, this is like a character that's like dark and brooding and edgelord, and they were like, here's your flowery shiny gauntlet. And we posted it to their Twitter, and then it landed in here. So they have taken ownership. I haven't approved that, but they have more or less taken ownership of that card. And he's permanently Dabney now. That's amazing. I didn't know he's permanently Dabney, but he's permanently Dabney, and that's where. So we have fallen in love with the whole Dabney thing. We have a spell about it too in the grimoire. I think Dabney's Yeet Magic, which is basically like you're a monk, and the monk is part of the components for the spell, and you just get thrown some ridiculous distance. I don't remember where that came from, but it was funny at the time, I'm sure.
Cool. We mentioned just briefly. We're coming to the last few minutes at the top of the hour. If you have any questions for Connor, do let us know. Put it into live chat. Some of you have been twittering, messaging, whatever it is, using that text stuff. But yeah, stick them into live chat if you're there. Coming back to the Kickstarter, you mentioned the Kickstarter will launch 15th of October, or at least October. how long before people get the products? Are you still kind of encountering? You think you're going to encounter delays because of what's going on, or is it like a 6 months? Is it 8 months?
So we know that it's 6 to 8 weeks from the time that we submit for pre-press to get our books back. So how much time that takes is going to be very dependent on how many stretch goals we hit, because the book will get bigger. Also, we are planning on some smaller, like 32 pagers as add-ons for this. So this Rollick's Guide to Violence focuses on this god, but maybe we'll do one that's the other gods in our world and things like that. So that will also add to those production times. And then from that 6 to 8 weeks of them finishing, it takes another 3 or 4 weeks for them to get here into the United States. And then it's another few weeks for them to ship out of the distribution center. So with the book, much of the content already well underway. And now it's just a matter of me laying it all out, which is, you can see I've already set up a lot of that, the skeleton of that. So now it's just a matter of plugging things in and then getting the art in there. Probably in the neighborhood of June, July of next year is when things would start to land in people's mailboxes. That could be shorter, depending on, again, not hitting a lot of the way out there stretch goals, or it could be further out if we experience any other delays. With things being as weird as they are lately, I have no idea if we'll see any kind of shipping delays like we have in the past. But going off of the last time we shipped a book like this, that's roughly where we would land. Because we did the grimoire in September of 2018. No, sorry, of 2019. Yeah. And it started shipping out to people's homes in June, July of 2020. So you're looking at roughly the same amount of time frame for that.
Okay. It's just where we've seen other Kickstarters being sort of delayed. We've spoken to other people who have come on, but other people, other conversations that we've had with people, and all hoping that the obviously the worst of it is behind us in terms of those delays. We've still got those boat traffic jams and shipping container missings, but we're just hoping that a lot of the stuff is all over now. I've just noticed there's a couple of questions dropped in, Steve. Oh, Steve's having a different chat.
Sorry, I see a couple of questions. If you want me to just...
it says, will POD be possible at all? Print on demand be possible at all? I've lost the question. It's got off the screen.
Will print on demand be possible at all?
Perhaps.
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. We've worked with Drive-Thru RPG in the past. It will depend because their shipping... their printing... prices have been changing lately, so we haven't quite worked out exactly how that works yet, if that's what you mean. Rollick's views on blasting powder. We're going to have guns and gunpowder in this book. That will be a thing, and some classes centered around that. So blasting powder sounds great. Yeah. I assume you mean gunpowder when you say blasting powder. I don't know if that's a slang term for something else.
Yeah, but Baron there likes to make things go bang. He's one of our players from our Epic Encounters.
There will be explosive things for sure.
Yeah, he likes
explosive bowlers.
Yeah, explosive bowlers.
You talked about the running to get the book finished to go to press, and you talked about some of the art. How much art have you got left to do?
A lot. It really depends on the stretch goals. Yeah. Because there's not many. There's only 3 of us that are working for GEMHAMMER full time. Everyone else is transient, contract workers and people that are freelance, things like that. So if we hit a lot of stretch goals, I'm not presently working on art for stretch goal content because I can't. Because there's other things that need to be done. I run most of the company, aside from also doing all the art. So all that stuff needs to be taken care of. Like anyone that orders something today, I'm going to be boxing that up and shipping it to you, me personally. So for me to take the time to develop art for content that may not be in the book, I can't do. So some of that stretch goal stuff may extend some of the production time, which is what I was saying before, because I will then have to go do the artwork appropriate to that. We like to have colorful art on at least every page. So the at the bare minimum of like 150 to 200 pieces of art that we're looking at, I've probably done about a third of it already. So more of that will happen as we get closer to the Kickstarter. A lot of that will happen during the Kickstarter so we can share it with people. And then the last chunk of it will inevitably happen depending on what stretch goals we hit.
Cool. Last question we had from chat was, when do you sleep?
I don't.
Yeah.
So before COVID, I had a full-time job, and then this, which is functionally a full-time job I don't get paid for. I'm also a graduate student at Harvard, and I'm finishing my capstone. And that has been the question my friends have been asking me for a long time. And the answer is I drink a lot of caffeine, and I sleep like 5 hours a night, maybe. Yep. And that is the unfortunate answer to the question. But good news, maybe, is COVID turned into me losing that full-time job. So I earned all that time back, so now I can sleep.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Awful.
So,
it's an awful thing to say.
and again, we were talking about it before we started the show. With we got the Kickstarter coming, but you've already got the ideas sparking around for the next project as well. You're starting to play with different ideas. Anything you can tease there? Yeah.
So with the Rollox Guide to Violence, actually with anything we've made, even these decks of cards have little quips on them, but some of them, like the Deck of Plunder, like they have little chunks of lore at the bottom. And obviously Rollox Guide to Violence will, and GEMHAMMER Grimoire has, and the couple of printed adventures we've done, like say they're in a campaign setting. So we haven't actually written a campaign setting, so that could be confusing for people who go to buy those adventures. But we always put in them like, you are probably not playing in a campaign setting, so adapt it to your world however you see fit. So the next will be a form of campaign setting, and I say a form of campaign setting, not just a campaign setting, because we've done so much with 5th edition, like I was saying, that we put prestige classes in here. More and more we find ourselves sitting and looking at the 5th edition SRD, and then turning around and looking at the 3rd edition SRD and going, man, do I wish this was over here. And then deciding we're going to print both SRDs in the same book and kind of marry bits and pieces together. And that has turned into us also developing new content that is not presently part of either system, but takes small pieces of some stuff here and some stuff here and bringing them together and then expanding upon them in much more elaborate ways, like a job system as opposed to just straight classes, and a more complex way of leveling up, not just your combat abilities, but also separate abilities, so that you could take levels in Candlestick Maker if you really wanted to, and that's not going to impede your progression as a barbarian. So this kind of new system that we're developing that still is still 5e compatible, but also has some elements of 3rd edition in it, because there are things we don't think should have been left behind, and we'll die on that hill. So it's become almost, it's not its own system, but it's definitely a big expansion to the system. And as we develop that content more and more, it is equally that campaign setting and the system that supports it. So that will be the next thing. And I don't sleep ever, so I have just blanked on what that product's name is. So 1 second, while I look at the giant to-do list.
What's the time scale with that kind of project? Because like for you're going to go to, it's Gen Con. Gen Con is next week or this weekend? And
No. It's so we need to. Gen Con is in a month, but we have a shipping container we need to send there. We need to have everything weighed and processed for the end of this week, and then in a couple weeks we'll ship it out, and it'll go there ahead of us, and then we'll fly out because we're in Boston, and it's in Indiana. Because the World of Arden is what we plan on calling that book that I was describing before. But you were saying, like, what does it look like for developing that content? Some of that content has already been written, and that's because some of that content was developed for the Grimoire, but we never got anywhere near that. And we have since taken a second look at it and decided to expand on it. And that is also true for Rollox. There's already content that we've looked at it and we've decided this doesn't belong here. It just doesn't belong in this book. So we've taken it and put it over here and said that will exist in this other book. So some of it's already been written. Pardon me. Some of it's already been written. Some of it we wrote a long time ago in anticipation of doing more adventures that we just never got to.
Yep.
And then some of these are expansive notes that we have for ourselves for adventures that, again, we haven't got to. We have like 5 or 6 adventures in the tank that we just haven't finished the layout for and then gotten out there. Because again, there's only 3 of us doing this full time. So, I don't want to promote this product too much because I want to get this one made.
I was thinking about more a case of we talked to a lot of companies, a lot of publishers, and everyone is reeling from the previous year, 2021. Everyone's kind of they're now prone. Everyone's getting back up. 2022 is looking to be the big year. So is that something where you can go back to Gen Con in 2022 with yet another project and go, boom, here we are. What?
I mean, we learned so much doing our first book. I like to think that we'll have a much easier time doing this one than we did the last one. We made a lot of mistakes with the first book, just in terms of like preparations. We actually finished, so we kickstarted in that September. In December at PAX Unplugged, we had a meeting. We all sat down after the show floor closed, and we were like, this is the finished book. And we finished it. It was done. And we read through it, and we got to the end, and we stopped, and we all looked at each other, and simultaneously were like, we hate it. It's exactly what people paid for. It's exactly what we promised, but it's not the product we wanted to make. And so we kind of, like with our hat in our hands, went back and said, we're delaying this. And that was even before COVID happened. And COVID resulted in us having to delay it further. But that's just because we couldn't get things into the country. But so we had to go back and like wholesale revamp stuff start to finish. And so that wasn't ready until the end of May was when it was ready. And so we didn't want people with the PDFs getting them too far ahead, so we delayed those out to the end of June, and that gave the book some time to ship and for us to get everything settled with that. So once we knew that that's how that would shake out, once we knew that like this is the book we wanted to make, this was we were much happier with this standard of quality. It was much easier for us then to look at Rawlock's guide and say, what is the standard of quality for this book? Well, it's the same as the Grimoire, and so let's start matching it up. Let's look at this book and then look at that book and start to create some parallels. And just as a core jumping off point, this is the version of the book we would be happy and proud to make. And if we can't make that book, then we shouldn't be making it. So that's the jumping off point. And then from there, we can add more to it with stretch goals, obviously. But right out of the gate, that's going to speed up a lot of the production time because we know that going into it. We're not going to sit there thinking we have a finished book at the beginning of December and then go, well, let's rewind 3 months of work and start going forward again. We have already, ahead of the Kickstarter project, finished a lot of the work that's going into Rawlock. So it's going to be developed much faster. And I'd like to believe that now that we will have done this process twice, the World of Arden will go that much faster because we will have now done this a few times and had a more practiced hand at it, and learn from our mistakes, as you inevitably do.
Yeah, indeed. It's a very odd, very odd situation. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to go over something because you've got the it's just gone off my screen. It was the deck of Night, the not safe for work.
Oh, deck of Wonder After Dark.
Yes. Do you have some handy there?
I don't.
No. It's dark where we are.
Well, it's sunny here. I do have the Tomb of Wonder After Dark.
Oh,
I should have grabbed the other deck. I didn't.
No, that's fine.
So the Tomb of Wonders. These were adventure modules we made as part of the Kickstarter, and these are just ways that you can get a hold of a deck of Wonder.
Yeah.
With its own magical artifacts. So these are quick and dirty adventures. It's random dungeons, with some other content in the back, like a couple prestige classes and spells. But like there's a prone room for the prone card. 25 square foot room that is painted entirely white. Enter the room causes any character to fall prone. So they go through. You roll a d20 and it tells you what room you go to, and when you as the DM decide they've had enough, they enter the room that lets them get a deck of wonder. And this one is the not safe for work one. It is the one that's
this is fantastic.
18 plus. And the story here is that so the Tomb of Wonder is like a big mausoleum they built for Gurren, and inside it is his deck of wonder. And in the basement of that mausoleum, one of his old apprentices runs a nightclub. We're gonna say neon lights and scantily clad people and
the moist room.
The moist room. Well, see now I feel like I don't know how much time you guys have, but part of me wants to go get the deck of wonder after dark.
Because if it's to hand, you can shoot off. That's fine. You can.
I'll be right back.
Go on, then. Go. So, Steve, how do you feel about the the After Dark edition?
Yeah, it'd be entertaining.
Considering in the Pathfinder campaign, we actually did in one of the dungeons, the Rune Lords, there was a dungeon, which was quite enjoyable for some people.
Yeah, that was the week I was away.
Yes, it was. Yeah. When am I running this? I can run the after the After Dark dungeon.
The not safe for work one.
Yeah.
See, some of these are what you're thinking of when you think of not safe for work, and then some of them are just we are awful people. And I'll explain what I mean when I find that card. Who here likes Neverending Story? Who here in chat loves Neverending Story?
Yeah. Everyone.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people.
Yeah. How much do you like that scene with the horse?
The bit in the swamp.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. Second card from the top.
It was meant to be.
So here's our
Here's
our deck of wonder after dark, and you'll notice it says deck of wonder. It's because it has the exact same back as the other deck, so that you can mix and match.
Yeah.
Or just slip things in that your players aren't expecting. But here is my favorite card in this particular deck.
I thought that was a euphemism then, but look.
I'm gonna have to pin that.
Here we go.
You summon a beautiful white horse who becomes your devoted companion. When you least expect it, he slowly sinks into quicksand and dies.
So, like I said, some of these are like exactly what you think of when you think of not safe for work, and then some of them are just awful.
Everyone, everywhere, sexually moans. Everyone in a 24-mile radius loses sexual in a mile radius loses sexual romantic desire for 100 and something days.
1d4 days.
1d4 days. 1d4 days afterwards, they are driven to fulfill for a kind of desire with reckless abandon for the same amount of time. Yes.
We are now in day 4 of what experts are calling the fucking.
This is, yes. I have never ever seen anyone do these kind of cards before. This is brilliant. We should have done a whole show on these. We just read each one. And how would you apply this card to your current campaign?
I try not to think about it.
Oh my God.
That one.
You create an oppositely aligned, sexually provocative clone of yourself, which fights you in an uncomfortably sexual way. This is some hot you on you action.
You scream loud obscenities.
I'm proud of that one.
From your ass. For the next 4 hours. Yeah. We need to introduce you to a friend of ours, Sean Sunday, because he created the arse deer. And yeah, everyone that's everyone's face.
Intrigued.
Yeah, the arse deer. We'll have to send you some pictures. Apply both effects.
That's not exciting.
Your horse dies and your clone chases you. Oh no! Quizmaster user turns wretched and reading from the spell. Oh dear! You never always become cold as ice. That cause anyone who touches them to take 2d4 cold damage, including yourself. Yes. We need
she could have given you the cold shoulder.
No. Oh. You inflict a powerful curse on your nearest enemy. Give them anal pleasures. Is that pleasures or fissures?
Fissures.
So there's 100 of those.
Wow.
God help you all.
That's a whole other show.
Yep.
Right.
And there's a regular one that's totally safe for work within reason.
I absolutely love those. Right, remember that, folks, you get 10% off, and you get your set of cards.
I will post that link again now.
Appreciate it.
All right, sorry, folks, we have run over time a little bit. We've gone about nearly 20 minutes. Connor, thank you very much for joining us. That was great.
Thank you for having me.
We hope, obviously, hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. But
sure.
For other secret things, and we hope the Kickstarter goes really well. Yes, we'll.
Thank you.
But yes, that is a lot of fun. So remember, there's in live chat right now. It's badges. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put the link below in the descriptions. But it's badges. Go to GEMHAMMER.com and it's 10% off of anything. So go for it.
Yeah, and the link is in chat now.
Cool. Was there any last minute questions, Steve? Anything that I've missed come in? What I was laughing about.
No, we picked up the last one. That's it. We're done.
Okay, cool. Right. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
I was at Steve.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to come up.
And we will see you all again soon. Till then, good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'll leave you with the trailer again. Here we go. Boom.
Hi, I'm Joe, co-founder of GEMHAMMER & Sons Gaming.
And I have a hammer.
That's Connor. He also co-founded GEMHAMMER & Sons Gaming. But what is a GEMHAMMER & Sons? What would you say we do here?
We make accessories for the greatest tabletop game this world has ever seen. How was that? Did we get it? From our secret mountain lair, we forge only the finest quality magic items, potions, spells, reference cards, and adventures.
We want to get you out of the table in your book and back at the table with your friends, playing the game with our collection of easy-to-read reference cards and gaming decks. And with our adventure books, we want to help you and your players tell a story that you'll always remember, for better or for worse.
From critical hits to critical failures, spells, magic items, and more, we want to provide players and dungeon masters with everything they need to make their game night the best night of the week.
But don't take our word for it, just listen to these satisfied customers.
Before GEMHAMMER & Sons, no one could rescue me from the warlock holding me hostage. But after he used the deck of many things, my captor was teleported to another dimension, and I was free to go.
As a druid, it's really difficult to keep track of all my wild shapes. But thanks to GEMHAMMER & Sons' Compendium of Wild Beasts, I always know what animals I can turn into, and what they do. Their stuff is the best. They bring so much joy to our game table.
GEMHAMMER & Sons is committed to making the finest tabletop accessories and... Connor? Is that a baby dragon on your shoulder?
It appears to be, yes.
Where did you even get one of those? Why do you have that right now?
I don't know.
Thank you, GEMHAMMER.
Thanks, GEMHAMMER. No, I don't think anyone will notice it's me.
GEMHAMMER & Sons Gaming. More better game stuff. That's our slogan.
Steve, my best friend and trusted colleague.
Steve!
Can I count on your help?
can.
I knew I could.